Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Brandon. So, VoltGo 400, the power supply. We are doing the balancing procedure. Now, understand something. I'm going to do an overview of what we're up to because if you don't have a clue what we're up to, you have no clue what we're up to right now. This is not in the owner's manual of the VoltGo that you're supposed to do this. Most of the battery manufacturers don't tell anybody to do this. I found out about this from a guy by the name of Clark on YouTube, Clark's Adventures. This guy is on a sailboat. He's like I am to the Corvette community, speaking in analogy form. He's very similar to me. He's extremely intelligent and he doesn't just go with the flow. He actually does extensive research on, I mean, this guy reads like scientific papers on actual like electrons and battery flow and like research and all these different things. And then he comes to his own conclusions. He's had NASA scientists come out of the woodwork the same way I've had top car engineers come out of the woodwork and say, hey, man, you know your shit. And top car racers come out of the woodwork and say, hey, man, you know your shit. Don't worry about all these other people who don't understand. Just keep doing you because you're miles ahead of these people they don't understand. That's how this Clark guy is. Most people don't understand what the heck the guy's even talking about, nor do I bet most people understand how to do this procedure properly. So I'm taking this very seriously, as you can see. I've been making, every time I like change course a little bit, I make another video because I want somebody to be able to learn from, my experience. And so far we've gotten lucky and done everything within reason, haven't harmed anything yet. So I want to show you here, this is I've put a little piece of gloss tape over the serial number or whatever, just so I'm not advertising my serial number to the world for the world to see. But here is the VoltGo inspection sheet, okay? And so as you study this inspection sheet, you can see where they took the volts up to test it. So they advertise that it's a 12-volt battery, 12.6-volt battery. So they took it up to 13.24. Great, meets expectations, blah, 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 blah. What you don't understand is the battery was shipped out of balance, or I should say it arrived out of balance. Now, there's a few ways that the out of balance could occur. And the out of balance, I just want to be clear here, that 13.34, okay, that's a true number because right now we are up to 13.95. And if I were to go ahead and unplug from the system, I'm sure it'd settle down to maybe 13.6 or 13.8 or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a pro yet at this, but it will settle down a little bit. So we've already exceeded what the factory said the battery would do. So that's good. There's no false advertising there. The issue is, and a lot of people don't understand this, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody, even people who are, I consider extremely intelligent people, they're kind of missing the boat right now. A lot of people say, oh, Brandon, you don't need to do that. If you buy a good battery, the BMS will take care of it. Wrong, okay? The BMS can only do so many things because the batteries are all wired up. The packs inside are wired up in series so that they create they're each 3.65 volts basically for a total of 14.6 volts in a perfect world, okay? However, mine are not currently like that. Mine are ranging from 3.65 down to 3.6. Yeah, 3.65 down to 3.35 is where my range is. So there's a 10% discrepancy between my battery packs right now. The issue is this. What happens is, as you approach the limit of a battery of what it's designed to do, so each one of these packs is designed to be 3.65, okay, volts. As you approach its limit and start to exceed it, it goes into a parabolic climb. Think about it like a stock that's squeezing. It goes crazy on voltage. Now, the BMS watches each one of those voltages. If any one of those voltages gets too high above 3.65, I was told it was 3.65 exactly, but it's not. It's a number above it, and I haven't figured out what that is yet. I don't want to figure out what that is right now. Right now, I just want to balance the battery. But the point is, once you exceed that too much, and I might find it out on accident here, if I continue to be aggressive with the feed power or whatever, too aggressive, I should say. But if you reach that max point, whatever it is programmed in the BMS, where it monitors each voltage inside the system, which is I'm showing you on the phone each time I make these videos, I show the phone and I say, here's the voltage of each bank. If one of those exceeds a certain number, the BMS completely shuts the gate on the amp march of electrons into the battery, okay? all the ions and electrons, all things moving around, comes to a halt. Boom, it's over. It's like when you shut off your water hose or you hear that poof in your house, you hear the water pipe poof, because all of a sudden the momentum of the water ends. So, your dishwasher's running and then all of a sudden the dishwasher stops accepting water, you hear a poof. And you're like, what was that noise? That was the water being brought to a hydraulic halt. It's like I forget what the term is, but anyway, it's a kabam. It's like it's slamming a door. So we don't want to have that happen right now. I want to keep the momentum going so that this only takes 2 more days instead of fucking 4 more days, okay? So because every time you halt the amp march, you got to start all over and get all the herd. It's like sheepdogs. You got to get all the sheep moving again. You got to get all the electrons moving again. And Faraday proved that this stuff has momentum and it takes time to get going. And then once you get it going, and see, the thing is, you say, oh, who cares? Just turn up the voltage and get it going again. The problem is the peak voltage cell is always the cell to go parabolic first, which then shuts it back off again. So that's why we're exactly at 14.60. I'm not saying that's the perfect spot to be, but it's kind of common sense. That's where we need to be, because we don't want to exceed 14.60 divided by 4, which is 3.65 per bank. We don't want to exceed that number because then the BMS gets mad and shuts everything off. But we also need to get everything up to that number, you see? So it doesn't do us any good to be running at 14.1 volts or 14.2 volts, I don't think, which is what I was doing in the beginning. That's not in the very beginning, but midway through when I started to get spooked and I had to go get lunch and dinner and do some different things. This is my first time ever doing this. I'm like, well, I don't want the top battery to go parabolic. I don't want the top battery pack to go parabolic. So maybe if I keep it at 14.2, I can prevent that top battery from going parabolic, and I'll just keep the current turned up to try to force the other ones to come on up. Well, that wasn't actually working. The top one was still wanting to go parabolic. Okay, you follow me? So really there's no perfect science to this, but right now we're doing it, at least not that I figured out yet. So right now we're doing it at 14.6, okay, and we've got it turned down to 110. I had it on the amps, 0.110. I had it at 0.115 originally, and that's a 30 volt, 10 amp power supply, okay, and you can dial everything to where you want it. It's a bench power supply, so it's like a scientific measurement instrument. It's very precise, which is what we need. So by me doing this, okay, we are getting everything balanced. And okay, so now what's the point of all this? You say, okay, get to the point, man. If you don't have your battery balanced, it's like not having your car set up properly to where your transmission is going to fail, which is what I pointed out on the Corvettes that people didn't understand. This is the same concept all over again. If you don't have the battery set up properly, it self-destructs. These batteries are $2,000 fucking dollars, guys. And it's not in the owner's manual that you're supposed to do this. Not only are you supposed to do this originally up front, but even if you said, oh, I'm just going to buy the super expensive battery like the Battleborn, because they actually take the time to do this before they ship them, which is why they're twice the price, if not 3 times the price when you compare them to the real cheapies. But the point is, you're going to have to do this eventually. You might have to do it every 6 months. You might have to do it every year. It's the exact same kind of thing as the transmission filters on the C8 Corvettes. People say, how often do I need to change the transmission filter? Everybody's driving style is different. Everybody's grit that was unpolished inside their DCT is different from General Motors. Everybody's different. We don't know what, how often yours is. So the point is, you got to check it first, often. And then if it comes back clean a few times, then you say, okay, I can go longer distances without having to check up on my DCT filter so much. This is the exact same concept with Clark and what he's figured out about these batteries. He literally, if it weren't for Clark's video, I'm just being blunt, giving credit where credit's due, I would never have done this. I would never have known about this. I would never have bought that little power supply for $55. Okay, I would have just bought the big power supply, which is rated to charge up that big battery, and called it a day, and I would have been into self-destruct mode where a year later that battery would have been bad, and who knows if the manufacturer would have honored the warranty of me sending it back to them if, because then there's all this gray area. Well, what would you use the battery for? How did you do it? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, you did that wrong, blah, blah, blah. So here, now, it's the exact same thing. And I'm not saying VoltGo would have done this. I'm just saying I am now completely covered, where I've contacted VoltGo right out of the gate with my first email and said, look, the battery showed up. There's a 10% discrepancy between 3.35 and 3.65 between the two banks, the highest and lowest bank. And I'm doing my best to fix it right now, but I just want to let you know the battery did show up out of spec, which technically it's in spec according to their sheet. Their sheet's not lying, but what they're not telling you is that if you were to continue to use the battery in that format, it will self-destruct the battery. And here's why. The top battery, the high voltage battery, will always be the one to go parabolic and be the one to shut off the system when the BMS interferes, okay? It's bad for battery cells to always go to 100% charge. It's better to go to like 80% charge on lithium. Well, the other battery cells are only getting to 80 or 90% charge because when that other one's going parabolic, they're still at 80%, maybe 90% capacity. So they're never getting to 100%. It's always that one getting to 100% and going parabolic. So then that one ends up being the one to fail first. And when that one fails, your battery's failed because the BMS keeps seeing that one fail, so the BMS doesn't allow you to accept power. You see, it shuts the gate, so your battery's done. Meanwhile, the lower batteries never get up to 100%, so now they develop a memory where they're never allowed to go to 100%. Even if you were to replace that cell, now they're all programmed to stay at 80% for the rest of their life while you own this battery. Meanwhile, as the battery goes down in charge, even back when you had the one that would go up to 100 where the other ones would only get up to 80 or 90, when they go down in charge, first one to 9 volts or 8 volts, whatever it is, also causes the BMS to shut off. So your range of what the battery is supposed to do for you is shrunk to a very small window of we can only charge up to here and go down to here, and then it's off. It's off here, it's off here, it's off here, it's off here. You paid $2,000 for a fucking battery that shuts on and off. Okay, so the point is, hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So what we're doing right now, those of you who are like, oh my God, it's not this complicated, man. You need to watch some videos and just plug a power supply in it. These other guys have these other batteries and you're making this out to be fucking rocket science. We are doing the level of maintenance, if you will, that I was teaching everybody about with the Corvettes and the DCT filters and the ticking engines and all the different things, and extra 2 quarts of fluid. We are to the top technical degree, basically, of battery discussion right now. And I'm not a battery expert prior to this. So this is the thing about me, and I'm not trying to toot my horn, I'm just being blunt, guys. My learning curve is I don't half-ass anything. I'd go into any given topic knowing that I don't know shit, but I'm going to find the people who absolutely do know shit, and I'm going to ask them a bazillion questions because it's a complex topic, and I'm going to wrap my mind around it very quickly, which is what I'm doing right now. And now, and I'm not trying to talk shit, I'm just saying factually, I'm now teaching people who I'm friends with who I thought knew more about batteries than I did, and they did, but now I know more about batteries than they do, and I'm teaching them what we're doing here with this process because they didn't understand that that's how you have to do this. You have to have this bench power supply, and you can't just go buy some charger that has some BMS intelligent unit in it. You have to do this procedure. It has to be human monitored to get this thing to do this right now. There is no device on the planet that does this currently in an automated fashion. So Clark is in the process of inventing these devices that do this shit in automated fashion. One is called the bank manager, and it does a bunch of different things, but it doesn't still do this process right here. This, Clark says, has to still be done manually, and it's not a big deal. I'm doing it. And so you do it, and then you check on it again in 6 months. You see what the discrepancy is 6 months from now, and if there's no discrepancy or it's very minimal, cool, you go ahead and balance it out, and you say, hey, I can wait a year till I do the next one. Or if you do it 6 months from now and there's a huge discrepancy, then you say, shit, I need to do this every 6 months, or maybe I need to start doing it every 3 months, whatever it is. All kinds of different factors affect this, temperature, all these different things. So this is a very complex topic. We're learning about it, but understand something. I don't want you to sit here and think, oh my God, this guy is such a fucking dunce. He's making 10 fucking videos about a thing that nobody else even gives a fuck about. This guy's a fucking idiot. No, guys. we're on another level. Okay, we are balancing batteries. We're turning this from a $2,000 battery into a $4,000 battery. We're changing it from a VoltGo battery to a Battleborn battery, and superior to a Battleborn battery, because it just is. This is a very well put together battery. They just didn't properly do the balancing procedure, nor does any battery company for that matter. Basically, it seems like nobody does it properly. But if you know how to do it, which you're going to have to learn how to do it anyway, because you're eventually going to have to change the oil on your car, it's like having a car shipped to you and knowing that you have to change the oil immediately. Brand new car, okay? And you say, oh, that's bullshit. I shouldn't have to do that. Well, you're going to have to do it again at 5,000 miles anyhow, or whatever it is. What if you could save 10 grand to buy a car that needs its oil change right out of the gate? Would you do that? Sure. That's what we've done here. We bought the VoltGo knowing that we were going to have to balance this thing. Now, let's talk about, are there batteries which can't be balanced? The answer is yes. If the bottom voltage cell does not come up in voltage and the top cell keeps going parabolic, then it's a bad battery. I was scared that's what this battery was going to be, because I had instances where that bottom voltage wasn't moving, and I had found the sweet spot where the top voltage was hovering right around 3.650, 3.652. It was right there, and I found, I found the voltages and the amps and everything to keep it right there, and then I took a nap. When I woke up from my nap, I had a panic attack, because there it was at 3.660, which was supposedly above where the BMS was going to shut off. So I thought for sure it was probably shut off when I logged onto my phone. By the way, if you didn't have the Bluetooth connection to the battery, you couldn't do this. You'd have to sit there manually with a fucking voltmeter thing and multimeter thing and sit there and check, and you'd have to take the lid off the battery. Not all batteries allow you to take the lid off. It voids the warranty on many of them. So let's say you get the Lithium batteries. You've got to crack those fuckers open with a chisel, okay, to get the lid off. You got to undo the concrete cement shit that they use, right? The glue. Voided the warranty. If the battery doesn't have Bluetooth from the factory, you're fucked. You can't even produce this procedure, okay? And hang on, Grant. My buddy Grant just gave me a call. I'm making a video. So the point is, okay, so we are finding out, can we get this to work? And I think that we're getting it to work so far. We're making progress. We've gotten the lowest voltage to come up, but we had to get up into the higher 3.65X. So 3.653, 3.655, 3.659, 3.660. We had to get up into those ranges. And by getting up into those ranges, then the bottom cell, those voltages and amps cause the bottom cell to start increasing again, which is good, because if the bottom cell doesn't increase, then I just have to send this back to fucking VoltGo, because the battery can't be balanced. But we are making progress, so that there's light at the end of this tunnel, I believe. And so we're figuring out through trial and error. So those of you saying, oh, you're making this way too complicated. No, guys, it is extremely complicated. It's a fine-tuned balance, and I'm very in tune with machines. I can't explain all the shit that my mind can do, but I can see that this Clark guy's mind can also do it. Okay, I can sense my own kind when I see them. The Clark guy is a fucking genius in a certain way. I'm probably a genius in a certain way, and I'm going to be able to prove that soon once I release my websites and my patents and everything. What I have is off the charts, guys. It's on a different topic. But the point is, some of us have gifts. I realize you say, you're probably autistic, Brandon. You talk really weird. Good. I'm fucking Rain Man. But instead of counting cards, I understand how machines work, and I'm trying to share that information with you guys, okay? So I can see through lies very easily. I can see that the General Motors is lying about the ZR1 coming. I know that it's the Grand Sport. That's the car that they're showing you guys. And then maybe they put the LT2 back into it for the Grand Sport, blah, blah, blah. It's going to have a price tag below 100 grand. Okay, that's why they haven't released the ZR1 pricing yet. It's because it's a big game. It's a marketing game. Anyway, I'm going to call my buddy Grant back, who's an awesome guy. And hopefully that video makes sense out of what we're doing, and you guys can have appreciation for those 10 boring fucking episodes that I just put together because each one was when I changed direction. So maybe you should pay attention and learn what the fuck's going on. And you could be at the forefront of battery understanding instead of just at the forefront of Corvette understanding. How about that? All right, see ya.